my name is Lexi and welcome to the Essence of Presence podcast. So it's been a while since I've promoted this podcast. I think it's been since December and it's finally here. So thank the universe for that. I just wanted to start off quickly by saying that this podcast isn't a replacement for medical advice by your doctors, by your psychologists, by anything. This podcast is mainly just an open space for open chats and good communication, and I will have some guests on here every once in a while to talk about mental health and just general life advice, because I feel like it's important to have just a comfortable space to come and connect with other people. And this is just going to be general advice. It's not going to be any intricate science-y type advice. I may add in a few points as we go along, and our guests might add in a few points as we go along, but it is for sure not scientifically involved. So that being said, where do I even begin? So this podcast is called It's Okay to Not Be Okay. So I want to start off by saying that I find life can be incredibly, I just want to say that basically there's a lot of pressure from society, right? I think we can all agree with that. I think we can all agree that society puts this immense amount of pressure on adolescents, on young adults, on and even older folks to put on this constant image of success and happiness. If you hear a chirp, that is my bird. I apologize. But yes, if we feel almost as though we constantly need to be happy, right? That's called toxic positivity. Whenever we see something on social media or we have an influencer showing off their day in the life, right? That's a common example I like to use with everyone is when we see a day in the life video of an influencer, we automatically go to holy moly, their life is perfect. And most of the time, it's just a recreation of what they want their life to look like. And sometimes people do build healthy habits, right, for themselves, and sometimes it can look incredibly aesthetically pleasing, which is great. But I will say that most of the time what you see on social media is fake, and I'm sure you've heard this multiple times, but it is incredibly true. So that being said, it's incredibly important to take what you see on social media with a grain of salt. And it's important to almost distinguish what's real to you and what isn't, what's attainable to you and what isn't. Because I do find, especially as a student myself, it is incredibly difficult to create almost like this aesthetically pleasing balance of life, because sometimes, people will say, get up at 5:30 a.m., it's so much better for the mental health, and like you get your day started earlier. It's okay if you can't. It's okay if you can't follow every single little aesthetically pleasing habit that social media loves to indulge in. That is totally okay. You don't need to beat yourself up over it. You don't need to look in the mirror and say, tomorrow I'll do better. I need to do this. All you need to do is take a deep breath and be like, okay, what is realistic? Because not everything is realistic, especially as a student with busy schedules. And even as in your workplace, not everything is incredibly realistic. So you need to create aesthetically pleasing habits for you, right? You need to create habits that are maintainable in a busy work environment. So that being said, not everything you see on social media is real, nor is it attainable. So you need to start being kind to yourself. And it's okay to find yourself in darker slumps, and it's okay to find yourself in places where you may need an extra bit of rest, and not all of the habits that you have developed are easily attainable. Try not to compare yourself to people who seem like they have their life together, but I guarantee you that they are just like you and me, and they have mental health issues. They have days where they just want to lay in bed and watch Netflix, watch Disney Plus all day, and that is completely okay too, because everyone on this earth is human and no one should be ever expected to be happy all the time. All you need to do is learn to be kind to yourself. try not to fall into those slumps where you are hard on yourself and almost threatening yourself in a way where if you say that you don't, if you don't do a certain thing, then you're not worthy. Or if you don't complete a certain habit that you have, then you don't deserve to, I don't know, eat something that you've been really wanting in the fridge, like a piece of cake or even like a really good sandwich. You know, don't put these incredibly hard expectations on yourself and consistently always expect yourself to complete them, right? Because we as humans are always evolving every single day, and our emotions fluctuate throughout the day, and that is completely okay. It's almost like learning how to embrace every single emotion and viewing it as a beautiful experience. Because as someone who is very into spirituality and bettering themselves, I truly believe that every emotion is a gift, and I think it's incredibly important to almost go through every emotion like a new lesson. So every single time you experience a low, I want you to change the wording from mistake or challenge or issue to I'm just learning a lesson. My emotion right now, I am learning a lesson from this. I am learning a lesson. I am going through an obstacle to gain a better life and to gain a better set of knowledge to continue on with my life and to achieve my highest self possible. So I think it's incredibly important that we change up our wordings because our words have a lot of power. So yeah, basically learn to be kind to yourself, and I want this to be almost utilized in everyday life. As soon as you wake up in the morning, express gratitude. I always like to say 3 things that I'm grateful for. It may sound incredibly cheesy to do, however, it is incredibly useful because as time goes on, life gets harder, right? Life gets harder as we get older. There are more challenges, there's more stresses, especially as a student, right? Going from university to work, it can be incredibly difficult to go from, this studying environment to the real world, right? Where we have to worry about money. And some of us already do have to worry about money. Just like me, I have to worry about money as well because I do live on my own without my parents. So it's definitely important to keep that in mind and to keep realistic habits in mind. So easy habit to develop automatically that can switch your mindset if practiced every day is gratitude. So just being grateful for what you do have rather than almost saying to yourself like, oh, I would be happy and I would be great if I had this or if I had that. There's no joy in waiting for what you don't have right now. I'd rather everyone embrace what they do have at the moment because it is easier on the mental health, it's easier on the brain, and it helps you live life in the moment rather than constantly expecting things of yourself because we are all human and we all evolve differently, and it's just important to keep in mind that we all have different souls and we all have different aspirations, and not everyone needs to take the same path. We don't need to assimilate to everyone that we see on social media. We don't need to assimilate to society's expectations of people. And we don't need to dive into toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is probably one of the most unrealistic standards that people have on others. You cannot be happy all the time, and that is okay. It is okay to not be okay, and it is important to take time to yourself and remind yourself that it is okay to not be okay. So, this being said, my episodes are going to be a little shorter starting off, and then they'll get longer as we go on, especially when we have guests, because we're going to have a lot of things to talk about, right? And the subjects will get deeper and deeper, and there will be different pieces of information thrown at you and just ways to build yourself up through different topics of conversation, I should say. And If you do have any recommendations for what you'd like for me to talk about on this podcast, please message me on Instagram or TikTok, and I'd love to hear everything from you because I want to accommodate the viewers and I would like to accommodate the listeners because I am posting this on YouTube as well. So if you prefer a visual type podcast, you do have that as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for the beginning support, and I hope you enjoyed my first episode, Essence of Presence. I love you all and have a good day.